So I'd like you to picture in your mind your local kind of community sports centre or leisure centre. Maybe it's got a swimming pool in it. Maybe it's got a gym in it. Maybe it's got badminton courts and table tennis tables and squash courts and these sort of things. Picture that place in your mind. The question I want to ask here is, what is it that customers of that place, what is it that customers value? And these things that I'm going to include here, these things that I'm going to include right now, 7 things specifically, are those things that probably is the case that customers within that centre will value. So again, just to be clear, we are talking, let me write in here, customers value 7 of these things, or 7 things that we're going to cover. So let's go over them. Number 1, we're going to have over here, let's do this in white. We're going to talk about accessibility. Accessibility. So think about this. This relates to things like location. This relates to things like parking. This relates to things like, it could be parking, what's going on here? It could be public transport that gets people to it. It could be, is it sort of located in a central location in terms of that location? Accessibility is going to be important, and it's one of the things that people value. Why? Because it makes it easy for people to use that space. Secondly, and this is often the one that people will talk to you about first of all, is what we would refer to as facility quality. You know, think about, for example, not just the quality of, let's say, the swimming pool, but what about things like the cleanliness of changing rooms? What about how modern the floor in a sports hall is, and so on and so on. I'm just giving you a few examples. Okay, that's a really important thing, that people will behave based upon those things. We've also got the notion of cost, and I want to give you 2 examples of cost. One would be joining and or participation cost. Now think about this for a second. There are a lot of providers, especially like private health clubs, and this is number 3, by the way, a lot of private health clubs, they'll have some kind of joining fee, and then there'll be some kind of ongoing or monthly fee to participate. Now, the point I would make about this one is it can make something either exclusive because it's, you know, too expensive and some people can't afford it, or it will make it inclusive. And remember, the degree to which something is exclusive or inclusive is individualized, because it depends on what someone's, you know, the disposable income someone has available to them. Right, let's take this further. Let's look at number 4. I mean, this is a really obvious one. Number 4, we've got opening hours. Now, if we consider that the majority of adult people in the UK are working, and the majority of that work is done approximately 9 till 5 on weekdays, of course, it depends on when this facility is open to as to whether people can do this. Think about other groups of people as well. We've got people who are working, we've got parents, we've got the elderly, we've got the young. Opening hours will directly impact on these groups depending on what those hours are. What about number 5 then? Well, number 5 over here is what we might describe as coaching quality. One of the things that encourages individuals to return to something like a active leisure and sports facility is that the coaching is good. Imagine a trampolining club in your local leisure centre, for example, and there's enough spots for 20 people. Well, what if the coaching was so good that 100 people wanted to attend that every Saturday morning, for example? That kind of impact would be important. That's what people value. This one's an interesting one. It's our number 6, our penultimate one. We've got here, this comes back to the coaching, opportunities to improve. And what about this other point? Opportunities to improve and compete. Okay, it's opportunities to improve and compete. So we've got the idea of improvement through coaching here, getting access, facilities, but also can those things lead to competitions? Of course, the coaching is going to cause improvements, one would hope. And then my final point for here, I'll use this nice blue here. I haven't used the blue so far. And then we've got here, number 7, people value, number 7, disability, and special needs provision. Okay, and this is the idea that all members of a society are included within the availability of the types of places and resources that we're talking about here, and people value this highly. Now, I would suggest here that you could make an interesting discussion about, well, who values this as highly as, say, this, for example? Is this a different group in our society? Or should we all be invested in this being a fundamental requirement? Now, you'll have probably different opinions in your group on that, and you'll probably have both ethical and practical opinions on that. But it's an interesting one for you to consider. But to be clear, these are our 7 factors. We've got accessibility, facility quality, costs, opening hours, coaching quality, opportunity to improve and compete, and provision for disability and special needs. Thanks.